Welcome to the Martin Bailey Photography Show. It's August 9, 2015, and this is episode 484. Last week I got my hands on a roll each of two new types of fine art media from my friends at Breathing Colour, Pura Bagasse Smooth and Pura Bagasse Textured. So today we're going to take a look at these excellent new offerings. First off, one of the most exciting things about these two new media types is that bagasse is the pulp produced as a byproduct of raw sugar production. This pulp is mixed with cotton to make this paper's base, so it's the perfect solution for the quality-loving photographer or buyer because the print quality is incredible, as we'll see, and it's eco-friendly. No trees were harmed in the production of this fine art media. Until now, my favourite matte fine art paper has been Breathing Colour's Pura Smooth, and this is still a beautiful media, but if I can get the same archival quality without harming trees in the production, this is a no-brainer for me. Now, as of August 2015, neither of these papers are actually certified as being archival, but that's just because these papers are so new, and they're still in the certification process. The word from the Breathing Colour team is that both of these bagasse papers are en route to the Fine Art Trade Guild for archival certification, and they're very confident that they'll pass because the coating formulation is quite similar to that of Pura Smooth and Pura Velvet, which are both already certified. I actually include a certificate of archival quality with Pura Smooth fine art prints that I send to customers, and I think that this adds a nice touch. I fully imagine that by the time I've finished my current stock of Pura Smooth, there'll be a similar certificate available for both of these new papers too. So I'll be replacing my Pura Smooth matte media with Pura Bagasse Smooth, but I'm also very excited about the new Pura Bagasse textured paper because I used to love printing to Hahnemuhle's museum etching paper, which was a beautiful textured media. I moved away from this paper some 5 years ago when I found Breathing Colour, but I've always missed this textured fine art media, so I was very excited to hear about this new offering. We'll get into some more details on the paper shortly, but first, let's look at a few photos of some prints that I've made on Pura Bagasse Textured. First of all, I printed this photo that I'm showing in the Enhanced podcast right now of a northern red fox. Remember that if you are listening to the audio and you're not listening to the Enhanced podcast, and it's broken by Apple anyway, it's best to go to the website and look at the images right there. Click on them to view them large. The blog post for this particular episode is at mbp.ac/484. So I chose this particular image to start my testing with to see how the texture of the paper added to the texture of the fur and the snow, as well as the pale blue background in this photo. Here is a photo of part of the print taken at an angle looking up at the print towards window light that's coming into my studio. This is perhaps one of the best angles to appreciate the texture that we're looking at here, in a photograph at least. Click on the images to view it larger if necessary. Here too is a 50% magnification crop from the above photo, just of the fur to the left of the fox's nose, which I thought was probably one of the most beautiful parts of the print. The texture really adds so much to the final print here. You can see that the texture in the paper has modified the texture of the fox's fur, really enhancing it in my opinion. And here is a photo of the top of the fox's ears with the blue background, which is of course just a very smooth blue in the original. But here again, you can see how the texture in the paper has enhanced the image. It gives the photo a painterly feel, and for me, because the texture is organic, subtly different for every square inch of this paper, it provides a special uniqueness to each print that you don't really get with smoother media. Another aspect of these papers that I'd like to touch on is their incredible gamut, or the ability to reproduce a wide range of colours. I create my own ICC profiles with X-Rite's i1 Photo Pro 2 calibration tools, and this gives me the ability to take full control over my printing. I won't go into detail on this today. If this concept is alien to you, consider picking up my Making the Print ebook from Craft and Vision, and I'll make that a link in the text for this blog, so you can go over and click that if you want to pick that up. What this does for me though, using the ICC profiles, is it enables me to print to my printer with the absolute best colour reproduction possible, and bring out the best of the media that I use. If you don't have the ability to create your own ICC profiles, not to worry. The Breathing Colour team have great quality profiles available for you to download for many of the popular printers that are available. The important thing is to ensure that you turn off colour management for the printer and print with your own profile, be it homegrown or from Breathing Colour. Before I print anything, I hit the D key in Lightroom to jump to the Develop module, and then hit the S key to activate soft proofing mode, so that I can select an ICC profile that I will print with and check that the image will print okay. As you can see in this screenshot of a flowerscape photo that I printed, Lightroom tells me that there are large areas of the image that should not print accurately. These are all of the bright red patches, which are called gamut warnings. You can adjust the saturation and change your image to bring the colours into gamut, but more and more I'm simply choosing to ignore these gamut warnings and just print anyway, as I did here when I sent this photo without modification to the printer and my roll of Pura Bagasse textured paper. And here now is a photo of part of the image. Like I say, I didn't modify this image in any way for print. I just ignored the gamut warnings and printed it out, and the printer did a fine job. If you aren't sure whether things will work out, it's probably more intelligent not to go straight for a 17 by 24 inch print as a test, but I've been printing like this for such a long time that I know that it's often fine to just go ahead and print. As you can see in this photo, once again the texture of the paper has added a beautiful painterly feel to this flowerscape photo. It's almost as though I'm looking over the shoulder of someone doing a watercolour painting of the scene that I was photographing. Really, I can't tell you how happy I am that Breathing Colour have added this option to their range of fine art papers. Before we move on, to give you a better reference than the soft proofing gamut warning version of this photograph, here's the original. Let's look at one last example of the beauty of the Pura Bagasse textured paper before we look at the smooth. This is a photo from my Hokkaido landscape photography adventure tour. With a photograph like this, you can certainly go either way and print on smooth or textured, because the smooth looks beautiful too. Here now is a photograph of a portion of the print. You can see once again that the texture adds so much to the photograph here. It takes the print to a different place that I for one really enjoy. So what about Pura Bagasse Smooth? The coating is very similar to the textured paper, although Bagasse Smooth sometimes seems to have a very slight yellow tint to it. In this photograph, I have added a print on the Pura Smooth, and which, we can see here is not as bright a white as the two new Bagasse papers. And you can also see in the middle, Pura Smooth's on the left, the Bagasse Smooth is in the middle, and Bagasse Textured is to the right. The slight difference in colour of Bagasse Smooth is perhaps coming into play here with my ICC profiles created with the same printer and exactly the same patch sets. I've actually found that my Bagasse Smooth profile seems to handle yellows just a tad better than the textured paper. As you can see in this soft-proof screenshot, Bagasse Textured it was showing patches of the image that were supposedly out of gamut. Here though is a screenshot of the same photo without changing anything other than selecting the Bagasse Smooth ICC profile to proof. As you can see, there are no gamut warnings. I'm sure that this photograph would print just fine on Bagasse Textured paper too, but as we saw earlier with the flowerscape images, you can just fly in the face of the gamut gods and it doesn't seem to really hurt that much. But I wanted to see this image with a smooth sky anyway, so I printed this on Bagasse Smooth, and here is a photograph of the print. Okay, so let's look at one last print on Bagasse Smooth before we look at a few final details about these two new papers. This image is actually the first photograph that I've made time to print so far from the new Canon EOS 5DS-R that I reviewed recently. All of the other images that we've looked at today were from images of around 20 megapixels, with a native resolution of somewhere between 240 and 280 pixels per inch when printed at 17 by 24, which is the 17 by 24 inches, that is. That's the print size that I've been using for these tests. When the native resolution drops below 300 ppi, I generally turn on the print resolution checkbox in the Lightroom print module and set it to 300 ppi, which forces Lightroom to upsize the image a little bit for print. With the 50 megapixel images of the 5DS-R though, I had a whopping 418 ppi native resolution for this image at 17 by 24 inches, so I unchecked the print resolution checkbox and let Lightroom send everything that it had to the printer. I print at 600 ppi anyway, so this was not going to go to waste. And here is a photo of the center of this image printed on Pura Bagasse Smooth. I know that this is not going to come across fully in the web-sized images that I'm posting here, but I think you'll still be able to appreciate the incredible amount of detail in this print. Again, shot looking up at the image with light from my window in the studio. This is, of course, not only a tribute to the image quality of the 5DS-R, but to these beautiful new Pura Bagasse papers from Breathing Colour. Without a quality paper to print to, this level of detail just isn't possible. One of the important aspects of these two new papers is that they're both OBA free. That means that there are no optical brightener additives in these papers. OBAs are commonly found in cheaper media and are almost always in office paper, which is why I can show you that there are none in the Bagasse brothers by shining a small LED UV light onto them, as you can see in this photograph. OBAs work by absorbing light from the invisible ultraviolet end of the spectrum and emitting light in the visible blue-white range of the spectrum. This is what makes media that include OBAs look whiter and brighter. As you can see in this photograph, the office paper in the background reflects the UV light, but the Bagasse papers do not, proving that it's OBA free. So why are OBAs bad? Well, they decrease the longevity of fine art paper by accelerating metamerism and causing colour shifts and yellowing over time. Although there are some archival fine art papers out there that do contain OBAs, it's generally best to avoid them whenever possible. I should also note that there are no OBAs in Pura Smooth either, so that's not an issue, but if you consider how much whiter the Bagasse papers are compared to Pura Smooth, as we saw in the example photos earlier, I think that the Breathing Colour team have done a cracking job with these two new offerings. One last detail that I'd like to include for good measure is that the Bagasse papers are printable on both sides. That means that you could use this paper for high-end note cards and photo books, etc. I've created a large batch of New Year postcards for a customer in the past, and I'd have loved to have been able to print on the back of those cards for my customers back then. Now I can do that. Okay, so let's start to wrap this up. It will come as no surprise after that review that I give both of the Pura Bagasse papers a huge thumbs up. These are game-changing fine art papers, heavy at 320 GSM, so prints on this media just ooze quality, and they're bright white and can easily cope with extremely high resolution images. You couldn't go wrong with this media even without the eco-friendly aspect that this paper has, with it being made from a byproduct of sugar production. But when you throw that into the mix, it makes this media an even more attractive addition to your printing workflow and fine art product offerings. Think about that. If you sell prints, you can also market your prints as eco-friendly, and I'm sure before too long that will also include archival certification as well. I do hope that you found this review useful. If you decide to pick up any of these Breathing Colour products, you can get a $20 discount by using our code MBP2020. You can use this code for orders of any amount, even if you're only ordering a $19.95 sample pack. So if you're new to Breathing Colour, give this a try. I have one little bit of housekeeping to do before we finish. By the time I release this episode, I'll be on my way to Namibia for almost 3 weeks. I was just about able to find time to finalize this review before I left, but I didn't have time to fill the pipe with episodes for the following 2 weeks. Next week though, I'm going to share a video interview with Paul Griffiths that we did a few weeks ago for his Live and Uncut show. I won't have time to add any intros or anything though, so don't be surprised when we just launch into a totally different show. It was a good chat though, so I hope you enjoy it. Thanks very much for listening today. If you enjoy this podcast, please share a link with your friends. And if you don't already, please subscribe in iTunes or your favorite podcast program to ensure uninterrupted delivery. You can find me on Google+, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, etc. And links to everything that I'm up to are at martinbaileyphotography.com, so do drop by and take a look. I'll be back next week with that Live and Uncut interview, and then we'll have a couple of blank weeks, but we will be back, so don't change that dial. And in the meantime, you take care and have a great week, whatever you're doing. See you on the flip side.